Hello everybody and welcome back to another Pokemon Emerald video. Today I will be using a Jynx to play through the game. Jynx is one of the 151 original Pokemons from Generation 1 and it had a bit of a troubled history with its sprite in the first generation. Other than that, it did not receive much love other than the baby form in Generation 2. Let me get over the rules a second. I can only use my starter in combat, I can't use items from my bag in battle, I can't raise my evasion in any way, and I can't use cheats or glitches. Jynx typing is pretty good. Ice and Psychic are not that bad in this generation, but they both have some weaknesses that the other type can mostly cover. There will be some hard fights, mostly because Ice is the worst type defensively, but hopefully our great special attack will carry us. The starting moveset is good too. We start off with the stab special move and the sleep move. That will help a lot with catching the TM slaves. That always takes a while. The only thing I can complain about is that Jynx does not learn any psychic moves by level up. That's not a huge deal, as you can get DTMs for Psychic and Calm Mind later, but it would have been nice to have Confusion in the early game. Other than that, we have two physical moves, but considering my low attack stat, I did not use them much, unless really needed. After defeating the first few fights in the game, we have to face the gym leader Roxanne. She is a bit weird. Her Geodudes are part ground, so I can one-shot them with powder snow, but her ace Nosepass is pure rock, so my attacks are not so effective. On the other hand, she is able to deal a lot of damage to me with Rock Tomb, since it is super effective. The only reason I was able to defeat her in the first attempt is that I got very lucky with sleep, and Nosepass took a long nap while I defeated him. Not going to lie, it was a bit nerve-wracking seeing her throw potions at the Pokemon while I was desperately trying to finish it off before it woke up. I am glad this did not take long. I did not want to take another hour to defeat the first gym. After doing some more stuff around town, we are ready to leave, but May wants to challenge us again. This fight should be kinda simple, but I forgot that her starter now knows Ember, which is super effective and takes me by surprise. I scramble a bit, but ultimately I was able to defeat her without any losses. Next, I skipped Brawly because with no psychic moves I am not confident I have the required DPS to defeat him. Instead, we can take on the grunts in Slateport, and those guys are a bit annoying because they have Carvanas and later Sharpedo. Water-Dark types are arguably the worst type matchup for us, since both of our stabs are not very effective. Fortunately, Sharpedo and to a lesser extent Kronaast do not have great defenses, so they can be defeated with resisted moves too. After defeating the grunts, we have some more training to do to get ready for the May fight. This one was a bit scary too. Torchic has now evolved into a Combusken, so it can deal a lot more damage. Wisely, I did not remove Lovely Kiss yet from my moveset, and once again it comes in clutch, sleeping her starter for a good number of turns, long enough for me to defeat it. I also upgraded my moves with Ice Punch. I'm not sure why, but I always think its base power is 60, while in reality it's 75 in this generation, so quite a bit better. Next up is Watson, and he could be a bit of a pain, mostly because his Magneton resists everything I have. Here I also made a bit of a mistake, not buying Psychic. I thought I did not need it, but I'll regret it later. Thanks to Ice Punch good damage, I was able to 2-hit KO the Magneton and heal off the paralysis with the berry, so after a couple more attacks, Watson's ace is defeated too, and that's the second badge in our pockets. With it, we can use Rock Smash out of combat, and so we can explore more of the region, like Meteorfall Caves, where we find the two evil teams having a bit of a discussion. Following that, we have to reach the Team Magma's leader on top of a volcano to stop him. I am not too worried about Maxi. I am a special attacker, so I can ignore Intimidate, and his whole team does not handle ice very well. The only problematic bit might be Camerapt, since it knows fire and rock moves, both of whom are super effective, but since I one-shot him, he can't use them. Next, we have the fight against Flannery, the fire gym leader. This is most likely the hardest fight in the game for Jynx, and I end up losing a couple of times being one-shotted by overheats. That's to be expected. I might have had better luck with Psychic, but I doubt it would have been enough to one-shot all of her Pokémons. Instead, I have to rely once again on sleep. Man, that status saved me so much headache this time around. I always think that Torkoal has a very bad special defense, and while that's mostly true, apparently it's good enough to not get even two-shotted by Ice Punch. It even wakes up in the middle of the fight, but only uses a Sunny Day, so I can defeat it before the eruption. Now that we have this badge too, it's time to backtrack. Our first stop is at Brawly's gym to tie up any loose ends. I still don't have any psychic moves, but Ice Punch is more than good enough to get rid of all of his Pokémons, considering that I am over twice their level, so this gym is not that big of a deal. After defeating him, we have to face our dad. He is not super hard either, but the fight was a bit weird. It starts off pretty normal, with me one-shotting his first few Pokémons. So far, everything is fine and proceeding as I expected. But then Slacking comes out. Of course, it leaves a hit and uses Yawn, so I fire back with a lovely kiss, and we both end up taking a nap. This goes on for a while, until we wake up and can resume the battle, only for him to use Yawn again. So of course I kissed him goodnight too, and that's the second siesta of the fight. Finally, I can wake up first and finish off the Sasquatch with one last Ice Punch. Lainoon goes down in one hit, and with that we have defeated all of his Pokémons, gaining the normal badge. With it, we can use Surf and move on to New Lands, where we find a hostage situation and take on the Team Aqua admin Shelly. Her team is quite easy with only 2 Pokémons, even if she has one of the dreaded Water Dark Pokémons. After defeating her, we can resume our journey, only to be stopped 5 seconds later by our rival. Unfortunately for her, I finally decided to get Psychic, and now her starter is powerless against me. With the only threat in her team countered, there is not a whole lot she can do, and so she is defeated in a few turns too. Next, we have the 6th gym battle against Winona. She uses flying types, and this is not going to be very fun for her. I can demolish all of them with my ice moves, and even though birds are generally kinda fast, I am faster thanks to the extra levels. Again, there is not a whole lot she can do either, other than watching her Pokémons get one-shotted. She tries to stall me with Protect, which might be a decent strategy considering my limited number of PPs, but she can't keep it up for long, so it too fails in the end. With the fly badge in hand, we can walk to the next town, where we have the last encounter with May. Today I don't plan on using Substitute, so I could have skipped this fight, but might as well do it and include it in the video. Much like the last fight, all of her team is neutral to ice, so that's a pretty safe move to go for. She tries to stall with Pelipper Protects. She does get a double, which is nice for her, but nowhere near enough to cause me any issues. Now we can go into the Pokémon Cemetery, and here we find Archie arguing with an old lady. Once they are done, she gives us the magma emblem that I guess she snatched when Maxie visited her, and with that we can enter the grave where Groudon sleeps. Maxie wakes it up, but the legendary flees, so a fight ensues. Again, Maxie is not a problem. His Camerupt is even more dangerous now with Rock Slide, but again cannot leave a hit, so that was quite easy in the end. Time to go ruin the other team's plans. Unfortunately for us, we can only find another one of the Team Aqua admins, who is quite weak too. He tries to put up a fight, but is not able to do much before we defeat him. Completing this part of the story gives us access to pretty much all of the sea, and after exploring a bit, we have to face the next gym leader, or should I say leaders, since Tate and Liza's challenge is a double fight. The match against them was not too hard. Ice moves are not fantastic, but still very good against their team, and I can one-shot all of their Pokémons. The only risky thing is that Xatu can confuse me, but that did not happen, so overall an easy badge to earn. Now that we are done with those guys, we can turn our attention to the other double fight that quickly follows. In this one we are aided by Steven and are facing the leadership of Team Magma again for the third time. The Camerupts are a bit of a problem with the Rock Slide, but since their AI is not the best, they often do not use it. Like in this case, where even though I let it live for multiple turns, it only uses amnesia. I can see what he was trying to do by getting tanky against my attacks, but since I can quickly turn it into a 2v1, all of those boosts don't matter much. It would have been much better to spam Rock Slide and hopefully defeat Jynx in a couple of attacks, since once my Pokémon is gone, the fight is lost. Now that we have calmed down the Team Magma and made Maxie see the light, we have to use the newly acquired Sub-HM to reach the seafloor cave, where Kyogre sleeps. Soon after we arrive, Archie barges in, but before he can wake up the legendary, we start a fight. Just like all of the other Team Magma or Aqua fights, this one is not very hard. And as I mentioned previously, sure, Sharpedo resists ice, but since his defenses are terrible, it's still a one-shot. Even though the fight is won, the red orb activates on its own and wakes up Kyogre. With both of the ancient Pokémons active, we have to intentionally wake up the third to put an end to this. So our character, who I think is canonically 13, has to climb a crumbling tower to wake up a god. Fortunately, Rayquaza is quite nice and does not bite our head off, instead goes and stops the other two legendaries, calming them down. At long last, we can attempt the last gym leader. Juan is kinda okay. I got Calm Mind from Tate and Liza, which will help a lot, especially in the league. But even here I can set up once or twice and then sweep through his team. I made a small mistake by using Psychic on Kronaast since it is completely immune to it, but switched to Ice Beam the next turn, and just like that the last gym's leader team is no more. Now that we have all of the badges, we can enter the Victory Road to start the last stretch of our journey. Here we meet up with the other rival of the game, Wally, who wants one last challenge. Of course, we oblige him and turn his team into popsicles. Some of them are more resistant to Ice Beam than the others, but overall this fight was very easy and I barely needed to set up, if at all. Even Gardevoir, who is usually a pain because of his massive special defense, is a one-shot today. With no more major events between us and the league, I guess we can start it as is. The first member is Sidney and he specializes in dark types. Definitely a bit of a threat. I one-shot all of his Pokémons until Absol comes out, since I know that it does not have any annoying moves. I set up a little against it, mostly because next is a Kronaast who resists Ice Beam and could be quite annoying. Instead, with the extra special attack, I can finish it off in one hit and be done with this guy. Next up is Pheobe, who uses ghost types, so another trainer who could be dangerous. Of course, the main problem is the cursing lead, but as usual, I set up while she protects, and from there it's a series of one-shots on all of her Pokémons. Of course, you still have the human factor, and again I use a psychic move on a dark type. Thankfully I do not get screwed over this time, and I can finish off Sableye with an Ice Beam the next turn. We are already halfway through the Elite Four. Let's hope that the next few matches go as smoothly. Glacia uses ice types, which would be very annoying for us if we did not have Psychic. But since we have a secondary stab move, I can take care quite easily of her team after setting up once on her lead. Cilio uses Hail, while it is usually okay for the little extra cheap damage. This time it is quite useless, since I am Ice type too and immune to it. Glacia is done, and Drake is up next. He should not be a problem considering the typing. The only thing that kinda worries me is Kindra, because I am only neutral to it, and it might leave and then start setting up double teams and be super annoying. Fortunately, that does not end up happening. So in the end, even though he is the most intimidating, Drake was the easiest one to defeat. By the way, I was right. Kindra lives, but only sets up Dragon Dance, so I boost 2 while it heals, and one-shot it the next turn. Now that we have beaten up all of the Elite Four, there is only the champion remaining. He was a bit scary, but not too much so. Fortunately, I have something to hit him with other than Ice Beam, and I am not particularly weak to his moves either. As usual, I used Calm Mind in the fight against Waylord. I got a bit cocky though and thought just one would be enough. As we'll soon see, I was very wrong. Tentacruel is a one-shot because of typing, but then Ludicolo comes out, and since the rain is still in play, it moves first. Thankfully misses Leech Seed. Phew, that's a bullet dodged. But then Whiscash surprises me by leaving a Psychic. Wow! I boost while he heals and move on. The surprises are not over though, because his last Pokemon and Ace Milotic is also able to leave a Psychic at +2 this time. This one really impresses me sometimes. Anyway, it uses Toxic, which is fair but a bit too late, and I can defeat it in a few more attacks before I fool myself. And that's how Jynx became champion. Some issues and close calls in the early mid-game, but once we got access to good moves, we steamrolled pretty much everything. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by pressing the thumbs up button, subscribing and bonking the bell. If you have any questions, feedback or video ideas, leave them down in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Bye!